Hello everyone and welcome to the Young and the Restless official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The truth doesn't always arrive gently. Sometimes it crashes into your world without warning, leaving everything you believed shattered in its wake. And for Kane Ashby, that moment comes the instant Nicky Newman reveals a secret he never saw coming. He had been fighting relentlessly, driven by fear and desperation, convinced that Lily Winters and their children were in danger. Every decision he made, every sleepless night he endured, was fueled by the belief that his family needed saving. But then, with chilling calm, Nicky shatters that reality, insisting there was never any danger at all. And just when Kane thinks the shock couldn't cut any deeper, she delivers the devastating twist. Lily wasn't a victim, she was part of Victor Newman's plan all along. In that moment, the ground beneath Kane's feet gives way, and nothing about his past or his future feels certain anymore. As the dust settles, one thing becomes painfully clear. Kane needs answers, and he needs them from Lily herself. When they finally come face to face, the air between them is thick with tension, heavy with everything left unsaid. His voice, once filled with love and familiarity, now carries a fragile edge as he asks the question he's been dreading the most. Was it true? Was everything Nicky said real? There's a quiet desperation in him, a flicker of hope that somehow this is all a misunderstanding, that Lily will look him in the eye and tell him it's not what it seems. He doesn't want to believe she could fall so far, could align herself with Victor in a scheme designed to deceive him. But the truth lingers between them, unavoidable and suffocating. And when Lily finally admits it, that she did, in fact, play her role in Victor's plan, the devastation that crosses Kane's face is impossible to hide. A silent heartbreak that words can't fully capture. But the pain doesn't stop there, because some betrayals cut deeper than others. As Kane struggles to process the truth, another question rises to the surface, one that burns with anger and disbelief. How could she use their children like that? How could she let him believe that Mattie Ashby and Charlie Ashby were in danger? For him, it had been a nightmare, an unrelenting fear that something terrible could happen to the people he loved most. Every second had been filled with dread, every thought consumed by the need to protect them. And yet, while he was living through that agony, Lily and the twins were safe. More than safe, in fact. They were living comfortably, enjoying what was essentially an extended, luxurious escape. The realization crashes over him like a wave, leaving anger and heartbreak tangled together in a storm he can't control. To him, this wasn't just deception. It was a betrayal of trust at the deepest, most personal level. And as the silence stretches between them, Kane delivers one final, piercing question. One that forces Lily to confront the emotional weight of what she's done. How would she feel if their roles were reversed? If he had made her believe that their children were in danger, that their lives were hanging by a thread? Would she ever forgive him? The answer feels obvious, even before it's spoken. Kane knows Lily would be shattered, furious, unable to move past something so cruel. And that's exactly why his words carry so much weight. Because he makes it clear, this is a line he would never cross. No matter the circumstances, no matter the plan, he would never put her through that kind of pain. It's not just an accusation, it's a statement of who he is and who he thought she was. And in that moment, the distance between them feels wider than ever, filled with everything they've lost. But beyond the heartbreak of their confrontation lies something even more dangerous: unfinished plans and shifting alliances. Victor Newman had intended to continue using Lily as part of a larger scheme against Kane, especially after her return to town. Yet, Nikki's revelation changes everything, threatening to unravel Victor's carefully constructed strategy before it can fully take shape. Now that Kane knows the truth, there's no going back, no pretending, no easy way forward. What was once hidden is now exposed, and the consequences are impossible to ignore. As tensions rise and emotions spill over, this reunion between Lily and Kane becomes more than just a conversation. It becomes a reckoning. In the end, what unfolds between them isn't just about betrayal or anger. It's about facing the painful reality of who they've become and what they've done to each other. The love they once shared is still there, buried beneath layers of hurt and mistrust, struggling to breathe in the aftermath of everything that's happened. And as their story continues to unfold in The Young and the Restless, one thing is certain. This confrontation is only the beginning. Because when truths this powerful come to light, they don't just change relationships, they redefine them completely, leaving everyone involved to pick up the pieces and decide what comes next. The aftermath of that confrontation doesn't fade quietly. It lingers heavy and suffocating, clinging to every glance and every unspoken word between Kane Ashby and Lily Winters. What was once a bond built on years of love, trust, and shared history now feels fractured beyond recognition, like something delicate that has been dropped one too many times. Kane doesn't just hear Lily's confession, he feels it deep in his chest, where the weight of her betrayal settles in a way that refuses to lift. Every memory they ever shared begins to shift in his mind, tainted by the realization that she was capable of deceiving him so completely. And for Lily, the silence that follows is almost unbearable, because she can see the damage reflected in his eyes. It's not just anger she's facing, it's disappointment, heartbreak, and a kind of emotional distance that feels far more permanent. In that quiet, fragile space, the truth becomes something neither of them can escape, no matter how much they wish they could. As the tension stretches between them, Lily finds herself grappling with the consequences of choices she can no longer undo. Aligning herself with Victor Newman may have seemed calculated at the time, a necessary move in a larger game she believed she could control. But now, standing in front of Kane, she begins to understand the true cost of that decision. Not in strategy or outcomes, but in the emotional wreckage it has left behind. There's a flicker of regret in her, something raw and unguarded, as she realizes just how deeply she's hurt the man who once meant everything to her. Yet, even that regret struggles to find its voice, because the damage has already been done, and apologies feel painfully inadequate in the face of such a profound betrayal. Kane, meanwhile, wrestles with a storm of emotions he can't easily sort through, torn between the love he once had and the hurt that now overshadows it. It's a battle between past and present, between who Lily was to him and who she's proven herself to be now. And just beyond their personal heartbreak, the ripple effects of the truth begin to spread, threatening to disrupt everything Victor Newman had set into motion. His carefully orchestrated plans, built on manipulation and secrecy, now hang in a precarious balance, exposed in ways he never intended. What was supposed to be a controlled, strategic move against Kane risks unraveling completely, all because one revelation came too soon. The dynamic shifts, the power he once held no longer as absolute as it seemed, and the people involved are no longer playing their assigned roles. Lily, once a key piece in his scheme, now stands at a crossroads, forced to reconsider where she truly belongs and whether she is willing to continue down a path that has already cost her so much. Meanwhile, Kane is no longer operating in the dark, and that knowledge alone changes everything, giving him clarity even as it fuels his anger. As the emotional storm continues to build, the question of what comes next looms larger than ever. Can something so deeply broken ever be repaired? Or has the line between them been crossed in a way that can never be undone? Cain's words still echo in the air, especially the question that cut the deepest. How would Lily have felt if their roles were reversed? It's a question that doesn't need an answer, because the truth behind it is undeniable, and it forces Lily to confront the reality of her actions in a way she can't ignore. For Cain, that realization becomes a turning point, a moment where he begins to see things with painful clarity. Trust, once shattered, is not easily rebuilt, and the path forward is anything but certain. What remains between them is no longer defined by love alone, but by the scars left behind in its wake. And yet, even in the midst of all this heartbreak, there's an undeniable sense that their story isn't over, not by a long shot. In the world of the young and the restless, emotions run deep, and the lines between love and betrayal are never as simple as they seem. The confrontation between Cain and Lily marks a pivotal chapter, but it also opens the door to something even more complex, a journey through forgiveness, accountability, and the possibility of redemption. Whether they find their way back to each other or drift further apart, one thing is certain: the choices they make now will shape everything that comes next. And as the tension continues to rise and the consequences unfold, viewers are left on the edge of it all, watching closely as two hearts struggle to navigate the aftermath of a truth that changed everything. The emotional fallout refuses to settle, instead deepening into something far more complicated as the weight of everything said and everything still left unsaid hangs in the air between Cain Ashby and Lily Winters. What began as a confrontation now evolves into a quiet, aching standoff, where even the smallest glance carries layers of meaning neither of them can fully express. Cain's heartbreak doesn't erupt outward anymore. Instead, it settles into something colder, more controlled, a silence that speaks louder than anger ever could. He begins to pull back, not just from Lily, but from the version of their life he once believed in, as if distancing himself is the only way to protect what remains of his heart. For Lily, that shift is almost more painful than his anger, because it signals something deeper, a loss of connection that might not be repairable. She can feel him slipping away, not physically but emotionally, and there's a growing fear that this time she may not be able to reach him again. In that fragile space between them, the past feels closer than ever, yet impossibly out of reach. At the same time, the shadow of Victor Newman looms larger over everything, his influence threading through the chaos he helped create. What once seemed like a calculated alliance now feels like a trap Lily willingly stepped into, one that has tightened around her in ways she never anticipated. Victor's plans were never just about strategy. They were about control, about pushing people to their limits and watching how they break or bend under pressure. And now, with the truth exposed, the delicate balance he constructed begins to shift in unpredictable ways. Cain, no longer in the dark, becomes a variable Victor can't fully control, and that alone threatens to disrupt everything. The power dynamic begins to change, and for the first time, it feels like Victor's carefully laid path might not lead exactly where he intended. Yet, even in uncertainty, his presence is undeniable, a reminder that this conflict extends far beyond just two broken hearts. As the tension ripples outward, the impact on Mattie Ashby and Charlie Ashby becomes impossible to ignore, even if they remain physically distant from the confrontation itself. They were at the center of it all. the unknowing pieces in a plan that use their safety as leverage, their well being as a carefully constructed illusion. For Cain, that realization continues to cut deeper with every passing moment, because it transforms his fear into something far more personal. It wasn't just a lie, it was a manipulation of his instincts as a father, a betrayal that touched the most sacred part of his life. And for Lily, the weight of that truth becomes harder to carry, especially as she begins to see her actions through his eyes rather than her own justification. The innocence of their children stands in stark contrast to the complexity of the choices made around them, amplifying the emotional stakes in a way neither of them can ignore. In many ways, it's not just their relationship on the line anymore, it's the foundation of their family itself. And yet, even as everything seems to fracture, there are moments, brief, almost imperceptible, where something softer flickers beneath the surface. A hesitation in Cain's voice, a look in Lily's eyes that carries more regret than words ever could, a shared silence that feels less like distance and more like the echo of what once was. These moments don't erase the pain, but they complicate it, reminding both of them that their story isn't defined by a single betrayal, no matter how devastating it may be. Love, even when damaged, has a way of lingering, refusing to disappear completely. But whether that lingering feeling is enough to rebuild what's been lost remains uncertain, hanging in the balance like everything else between them. The question isn't just whether they can forgive, it's whether they can ever truly trust again. As the story continues to unfold in The Young and the Restless, the tension only intensifies, pulling every character deeper into a web of consequences that can't be undone. The confrontation between Cain and Lily may have begun as a search for answers, but it has become something far more profound. A turning point that forces both of them to confront not just each other but themselves. Every choice moving forward carries weight. Every word has the potential to heal or wound even further, and the path ahead is anything but clear. In a world where loyalty can shift in an instant and trust can be shattered with a single revelation, the future remains uncertain, charged with emotion and possibility. And as the dust refuses to fully settle, one truth stands above all else. This story is far from over, and what comes next may change everything once again.